In this how-to video, we'll talk about resource right-sizing. Resource right-sizing is a fundamental aspect of any virtual environment and can be used in order to maintain and specify the resources correctly. Within Uila, we have the CPU analysis, memory analysis, and the storage analysis to help you with resource right-sizing. Moreover, you can also generate reports to check and verify if the resources have been right-sized. Under CPU analysis, this provides you with a circle packing view with an entire picture of your data center. The outermost circle is the overall CPU health of your entire data center. The inner are your different clusters of your hosts. And finally, all the different virtual machines sitting within your environment. Clearly, you can see that host 11 shows up as orange, indicating that there are certain issues. If you look into it deeply, you can quickly see that it has nothing to do with the CPU utilization. However, the main issues are the CPU ready times. CPU ready time is a byproduct of over-provisioning virtual machines within your environment. If you look into the different virtual machines, this virtual machine, which is a SQL 2012 server, has 4 CPUs allocated to it. However, it's only using 0.32% of the overall CPU resources. Another resource is this particular virtual machine, which is the web server. It has 2 CPUs allocated to it, has 47% CPU utilization. However, it suffers due to the high CPU ready time. In this scenario, you can quickly see that the virtual machines which are over provisioned are causing CPU readiness and CPU slowness to the other virtual machines within the environment that are getting used quite a bit. With this, you can conclude that you would need to reduce the CPU numbers on the SQL server. Similarly, memory analysis provides you with a way to right-size the memory within your environment. This circle packing view provides you with an overall view of your data center. The data center, clusters, hosts, and all the different virtual machines. Clearly, you can see from here that host 15 seems to have the most problematic virtual machines. By hovering over, you can quickly see that the desktops seem to have pretty high active utilization. And you can see that it has 2 gigs of RAM allocated to it. However, there are other virtual machines within the environment that have much more memory allocated to it. In this particular case, this Oracle server. By looking at this data, you can quickly see that some of the memory resources from the Oracle server can be transferred to the other VDI desktops that actually require these resources. This is basically how CPU and memory resource right-sizing would work within your environment. Finally, the storage analysis view provides you with an overall perspective of your storage environment. It provides you with a view right from the physical disk, data stores, hosts, virtual machines, and virtual disks. Using the data that Uila provides, you can quickly understand what the thresholds need to be set for IOPS. For example, in this scenario, you can see that this desktop, VDI desktop, has high latency. In order to reduce the latency, the virtual machine needs to have higher IOPS. In this particular case, you can use this view to provide additional thresholds for different servers within your environment. With Uila storage analysis, capacity usage can also be analyzed. By clicking on the capacity usage view, you can quickly understand what are the different virtual machines that lack storage at the moment. Similarly, looking at it from a table view, you can quickly understand what the usage trending diagrams are, what the usage percentages are, and what the capacity of those individual drives are. You can simply filter based on specific usage. Here you can see that this particular virtual machine on this particular disk is 100% utilized in terms of storage. Uila also has reporting capabilities for resource right sizing. Within Uila's reports, you can generate reports or the VM right sizing report by clicking on New Report. Here, you can select the VM resource usage report, select the time period, which could be a week, a month, 6 months, and so on. And finally, the entities for which you would like to generate the report. In this case, you can generate it either for the data center, the cluster, the port groups, the virtual machines, or individual service groups. Once you select the checkbox, you can hit finish. In this particular case, I've already created reports. As you can see from the background, there's a VM resource report already created. It provides you with the date of creation, and it provides you with a health summary of all the different virtual machines. Here, it provides you with the basic information of all the different components and their health. Green indicating it's performing well, yellow, minor problem. In case it shows up as red, there's a major problem. As you scroll down the list, this is where you come across the interesting part within the report, which is the VM resource utilization. Here, you can see that there is a breakdown of CPU and memory resources. You can quickly see from here there are specific servers. In this case, let's take the example of this application load balancer, which has 4 CPU cores allocated to it. The average utilization is 0.1%, and the peak is also 0.1%, indicating it's not really using any of the resources allocated to it. So, Uila suggests you can reduce this by 3 cores. Similarly, on a memory front, you can see that it has 2 gigs of memory, has an average utilization of 1.1% and a peak of 1.6%, indicating that you could remove 1 gig of memory out of it. With this, you can ensure that your environment is always right-sized.